Unpaid domestic work and women's labor forms a big chunk of productive economy. It is productive economy, but it is not recognized as such. It is done mostly by women, and it is done in a form of unpaid labor. It is such a big part of the economy, which is not counted, that across different countries it is calculated, when it is counted, to comprise somewhere between a third to a half of the gross domestic product. So to what extent withdrawing that kind of labor can have an impact on the notice of policymakers is an important question to ask, and we need to first ask what character that labor takes.
The main feature of paid labor is that you're participating in the labor market, which means that you get paid for the work you do. If you are in the labor market, you pay tax, which is recognized as contributing something to the state by a lot of people, which means that you also have right to the benefits that the state gives you for being in paid labor. This includes pensions, benefits, any compensation for if you're not working. Women are generally underrepresented in paid labor, which means that they're more vulnerable.
One of the main features of unpaid labor and care is that largely when it comes to it being gender, it's assumed or either forgotten that how much women have a role in that. One of the ways we talk about it is in terms of the second shift. So as women's labor market participation has increased, also has their overall workload, because the work that they have to do in the home or in other domestic areas isn't necessarily accounted for.
It's important that such events like women's strike happen because it brings attention to the places where women are missing. It's mostly services, hospitals, schools, and it shows how occupational segregation is prevalent in our society.
One of the major challenges to withdrawing women's labour is that not all women are in a position to strike. So rather than being a day without women, we'd be looking at more of a day without privileged women. It's important to take into account that not all women can afford to strike, and also a large proportion of these women who can't afford to are more likely to be migrant workers. It's also important to consider how this disproportionately affects lone parents, particularly lone mothers, who are the sole caregivers and providers for their children and therefore can't afford to take a day off work, or whether that be domestic or paid.